Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance, and today we're finally bringing everything together in one place. The ultimate Byrna guide for Hero Wars, Alliance. We've tested her non-stop, we've broken down her skills, we've studied her build, we've pushed her into every kind of team, and now it's time to give you the full picture. Who she is, how she works, how to build her, how to counter her, and of course, how to unleash her in 5 dangerous Byrna teams. So sit back, relax, and let's walk through this force of nature together. Byrna is an intelligence-based healer from the way of nature who stands in the middle line. But calling her just a healer is almost an insult. Her damage. She could pass for a mage or even a warrior. Her support. She feels like a full support hero. Her sustain. She feels like a dedicated healer. She's the whole package in one hero, and everything she does scales with her magic attack and intelligence. And now, Guardians, let's move straight into her first ability, and this one really sets the tone for everything Byrna represents. Roar of Nature. When Byrna calls upon the spirit of the Great Bear, the entire battlefield shifts. Her guardian spirit unleashes a wave of pure magic damage into the enemy team, and at the same time Byrna and all nearby allies instantly begin to restore health, keeping your front line stable and your midline safe. This is the moment where you feel her identity, damage and healing working together in one synchronized burst. She protects your formation while punishing the enemy in the same breath. It's simple, clean, and incredibly effective, especially in long fights where sustain decides whether you break or survive. Whenever Byrna triggers this roar, she isn't just healing, she's reinforcing your entire line while making sure the enemy feels the weight of nature itself. From that opening roar, we move into the heart of her kit, Guardian Punch. This is where Byrna stops being just a healer and becomes a battlefield mechanic by herself. When Guardian Spirit surges forward, it moves freely across the battlefield, striking enemies one by one. It cannot be targeted, it cannot be controlled, it just attacks. Every strike carries Byrna's magic attack and magic penetration, turning that spirit into a roaming magical bruiser that punishes anything standing in its path. And while that's happening, every single one of Byrna's basic attacks restores health and energy to the ally with the lowest health. Not random. Not nearby. The weakest ally, instantly stabilized. So you get this constant rhythm. Spirit hits the enemy. Byrna recovers your weakest ally. Spirit hits again. Byrna restores again. She's attacking and healing at the same time, non-stop, without wasting a second. She pressures the enemy and protects your team simultaneously. A healer that hits. A damage dealer that sustains. A spirit you cannot stop. From that endless rhythm of strikes and restoring, we move into one of her most underrated but absolutely massive abilities, Bear Cuddle. This is where you really feel that she's not just healing the team. She's choosing someone and refusing to let them fall. When Bear Cuddle activates, Byrna marks the ally with the lowest health, the one who is closest to dying. And for a full 20 seconds, that ally becomes her priority. Every 2 seconds, without fail, they restore health. And they gain energy. Health. Energy. Health. Energy. Again. And again. And again. It doesn't matter if it's a tank being punched non-stop, an agility hero caught at the wrong time, or a mage under pressure, Byrna locks onto them and keeps pulling them back from the edge. She doesn't panic, heal and forget. She commits, and she sustains that commitment for the entire duration. That ally doesn't just survive, they start climbing back into the fight. They get the energy they need to ult, to counter, to turn the battle. It's a skill that quietly changes the flow of combat without big flashy animations, but you absolutely feel the difference. And finally, Guardians. We arrive at the skill that quietly transforms Byrna from strong healer into something far more dangerous, Living Heart. This is the moment where her healing stops being just healing and starts becoming growth. While her other skills keep allies alive, stabilize them, or rebuild their tempo, Living Heart takes it one step further. If an ally is already fully healed, if they're topped off and stable, Byrna does not waste that healing. Instead, all extra healing she sends to that ally increases their maximum health. And she can increase it by up to 100%. That means the longer the battle goes, the more healing she pushes out, the more that single ally evolves. Your tank doesn't just survive, they grow. Your bruiser doesn't just recover, they become harder and harder to kill. Your midline becomes sturdier with every pulse of her magic. It's like having sustain, regeneration, and permanent scaling wrapped into one skill. Byrna doesn't simply protect the team. She reshapes it during the fight. Now that we understand just how insane her skill kit is, let's talk about how to build Byrna correctly. We begin with her skins. Right now, Byrna's default skin is the only one she has, so you start with that immediately because it increases her main stat, intelligence. Simple, and mandatory. In the future, if she receives a magic attack skin or a magic penetration skin, those become instant priorities because they scale both her damage and her healing inside battle. And if she ever gets an armor skin, that's also huge, because Byrna's biggest weakness is her low armor. She can compensate with health regeneration during battle, but armor will help her survive those dangerous early seconds before her kit really kicks in. Then we move into her artifacts. Her weapon artifact, Guardian's Fang, gives a team-wide bonus of magic penetration when it activates. Her book artifact grants her bonus magic attack and health. Her ring artifact boosts her main stat, intelligence. The priority is clear, start with her book. It gives Byrna extra health, but more importantly it raises her magic attack, and every single one of her skills scales with that. More damage, more healing, more pressure, all in one artifact. After that, you go to her weapon, Guardian's Fang, which shares magic penetration with the entire team. Most of the time you'll run Byrna alongside magic heroes, and that penetration helps all of them cut through heavy defenses. And last comes the ring, still important, because more intelligence means more of everything, but it comes after book and weapon in impact. Next are her glyphs. She has glyphs for magic attack, health, magic defense, magic penetration, and intelligence. First, you push magic attack. That's the stat that scales everything, her healing, her spirit damage, the strength of roar of nature, the power of her bear cuddle sustain. After that, go into magic penetration to make sure all of that magic actually bites through enemy defenses, especially in late game where resistances get high. Then you move into intelligence, her main stat, to amplify the whole kit at once. After that, you build health so she doesn't fall over in the opening burst and survives long enough for her regeneration to matter. And finally, magic defense is your last priority, still useful, but not as critical, because her health regeneration already gives her a lot of safety versus magic damage. As always, keep those glyphs at level 40 unless you're specifically chasing class glyph thresholds. Next is Sparks of Power, and here there is no debate, you max her. Byrna scales extremely well with every extra stat she gets, and she feels more and more terrifying the further you push her. Then we get to her talisman, and this is where things get spicy. The talisman of the Orc Princess grants her 2000 intelligence and 3 rolls of magic penetration. For a hero like Byrna, this is massive. Today, Many heroes have huge defenses and tons of mitigation. Even though she's a healer, Byrna deals a lot of magic damage over time, and those extra penetration rolls make sure her spirit and her spells actually cut through and keep the pressure on. It's exactly the kind of talisman you want on a healer that plays like a scaling mage. Now, we need to talk about her mechanics, her weaknesses and her spirit, because this is what makes Byrna so unique. After non-stop testing, and I mean hours and hours of pushing her into every lineup, every condition, every control chain, one thing became crystal clear: Byrna is absolutely from the way of nature, because she is a force of nature. But not in the way you first expect. On one side, she is one of the most fragile heroes ever released. Her armor is low. Her resistance to control is basically non-existent. She gets charmed by Lian, turned into a sheep by Somna, silenced by Thea, stunned instantly, pushed, pulled, locked in place, and when that happens, she cannot move, cannot cast, cannot react. She just sits there under a storm of control. So of course the first reaction is, if she's that fragile, why should I build her? How can a hero with so many weaknesses be good? Why would I spend resources on someone who gets controlled by everything? And this is where everything changes. Because when you judge Byrna, you have to stop thinking about Byrna and start thinking about her spirit. What makes her completely unique is that her guardian spirit doesn't care about any of that. Byrna herself can be charmed, stunned, silenced, sheeped, frozen, pushed, but while she's trapped under every negative effect in the game, her spirit keeps going. It continues attacking, it continues growing, it continues doing its job like nothing happened. She may be physically weak, but spiritually unstoppable. Her spirit keeps pressuring, her healing keeps feeding allies, living heart keeps turning over heal into maximum health. She grows during combat, she evolves during combat, she increases health regeneration, magic attack and battlefield presence while crowd control rains down on her like a storm she refuses to feel. No other hero in Hero Wars Alliance has ever done this. Byrna is the first. And if she's already this impressive with just one season and one talisman, imagine what happens when she gets more skins. When relics arrive. When future patches add more scaling. She's already bending the usual rules of control, and she's just getting started. But, Guardians, let's be clear, she is not invincible. She is not a hero with no answers. You know I will never call a hero broken just for hype. Byrna can be amazing, but she can absolutely be punished, and that punishment goes straight through her biggest weakness, her lack of armor. If you want to beat Byrna, you must hit her fast. You cannot let her evolve. You cannot let her grow. You cannot let her spirit snowball. If she gets time, she becomes extremely hard to kill. So you have to attack before that scaling starts to matter. Your best counters. Yasmin. Byrna's armor is so low that Yasmin jumps straight onto her. If Yasmin gets there early enough, Byrna is deleted before she ever reaches her peak. Cornelius. If Byrna is the highest intelligence hero in battle, his monolith finds her, and it's a one-hit execution. One shot, no more Byrna. Satori. His foxfire marks track her repeated actions and punish her cycles, melting her from distance. Area damage. Because Byrna sits close to the middle of the enemy team, sustained that hits her early can break her before her health growth kicks in. That's the formula. Don't let Byrna breathe. Don't let her evolve. Don't let the spirit take control of the match. But when she does get to breathe, when she evolves naturally during combat, when she stands with the right allies, she becomes one of the most beautiful designs ever dropped into this game. The damage is impressive. The healing is impressive. The scaling is impressive. Her presence on the battlefield feels completely different from any other healer. So is she worth it? Is Byrna a good hero? Is she a good investment? After all the tests, all the battles, all the sleepless hours pushing her into every situation, my honest answer is simple: yes. Byrna is absolutely worth it. She is absolutely a must-have. She is absolutely special. But, as always, no hero is invincible in Hero Wars Alliance. Not Kayla, not Iris, not Dante, not Somna, not Yasmin. And not Byrna. She has counters, she has risks, she has fragilities, but her uniqueness makes her shine above the noise. And now, Guardians. It's time to see where she truly comes alive, inside real teams. We're going to look at 5 powerful Byrna lineups, not to talk about her weaknesses, but to show pure synergy, power, and what happens when you build around her strengths. First, we have a beautiful combination of control, sustain, and scaling magic damage: Electra, Maya, Byrna, Folio, and Leanne. Electra stands in front as the living wall, converting defenses into a gigantic health pool and absorbing incoming hits. Maya sets the stage with her poisonous garden and disruptive flowers, spreading constant area damage and distracting both the frontline and backline. Then Byrna enters the dance. Every time her guardian spirit roars, the enemy takes magic damage while Byrna and nearby allies restore health, turning Electra and Maya into a stubborn frontline that refuses to fall. Her basic attacks constantly heal and feed energy to the lowest health ally, so whoever is under most pressure gets immediate support. And once she fully heals someone, Living Heart starts growing that ally's maximum health, which is disgusting value on a frontliner like Electra that stays in the fight forever. Folio adds distraction and magical disruption, breaking enemy formations, pulling focus away from where it should be and opening windows for your damage to land. Leanne finishes the structure by charming anyone who hits her, punishing reckless aggression and giving Byrna the time she needs to turn a normal frontline into an unbreakable wall. The longer the fight goes, the more Electra and whoever Byrna is focusing start to feel like bosses in a raid. The second team turns the dial toward heavy mage pressure with a nature twist: Mushy, Byrna, Zesha, Amira, and Aiden. Mushy holds the front with her chaotic mushrooms, spreading pure damage and control while tanking that scary first wave. She isn't a classic tank, so she absolutely loves the constant healing and energy support that Byrna brings behind her. As soon as combat starts, Byrna's spirit is roaming and striking enemies, while every one of her basic attacks is patching up the weakest ally and giving them energy. Early on it's often Mushy, later it may be Zesha or Amira if the enemy reaches your backline. That constant drip of sustain and energy makes your casters cycle ults faster than the enemy expects. Zesha is your surgical cannon here, blasting high-value targets and punishing anything that survives too long. Amira twists the fate of creep-based teams and adds more magical damage and control to the mix, while Aiden amplifies healing and shields, turning the whole composition into a ramping magic core. And again, Living Heart doesn't buff everyone at once, it chooses that fully healed ally and pushes their maximum health higher and higher. In a lineup like this, that scaling often lands on Mushy or Aiden, making a deceptively fragile front suddenly very hard to crack. The third team leans into physical assassination, dodge, and bear-powered sustain: Yasmin, Byrna, Goose, Lara Croft, and Octavia. Yasmin is your spear point. She dives onto the lowest armor enemy and tries to erase them before they can act. Normally, running Yasmin always comes with risk. If she gets caught, she dies fast. But with Byrna watching over the team, the picture changes. The moment any ally drops too low, Byrna's basic attacks switch to rescue mode, healing and energizing that specific hero. If Yasmin survives the first dive and Byrna manages to top her up, Living Heart kicks in and her maximum health goes up, making each future dive less suicidal than the last. Puss boosts creep-based heroes and adds strong healing on top. Lara Croft adds powerful physical damage and utility from the back, and Octavia closes the formation with dodge mechanics and magic retaliation. Puss, Byrna and Living Heart together mean your carries don't just hit hard, they start scaling into surprisingly tanky threats over longer fights. The fourth team is full control and disruption: Yasmin, Byrna, Somna, Folio, and Octavia. Here, your goal is simple: lock the enemy out of the game. Yasmin continues playing assassin, Octavia manages dodge and damage reflection on the backline, and Somna brings her terrifying sleep control. Stacks of drowsiness, sleep, and control effects slow the enemy offensive engine to a crawl. While the enemy is being slept, mispositioned and stunned, Folio adds more disruption, ink, and magic pressure. Through all this, Byrna's bear is working relentlessly. Bear Cuddle locks onto the most endangered ally for 20 seconds, healing them every 2 seconds and feeding energy, while Roar of Nature and the Spirit's attacks keep enemies under constant magical pressure. When Bear Cuddle and Living Heart line up on a key carry, that hero doesn't just survive control windows, they come back stronger than before. And all the while, remember, even when Byrna herself is locked down by charms, stuns or silence, her spirit continues doing its job. That's what makes this team feel so oppressive. Control, disruption, assassination, dodge, all tied together by a healer who is growing your win condition as the fight goes on. And finally, our fifth lineup, a fortress of shields, health scaling, and magical control: Julius, Electra, Byrna, Folio, and Polaris. Julius sets up the protective shell with his shields and mitigation, reducing and absorbing damage for the whole team. Electra stands beside him with her enormous HP pool, turning her defense into raw health and soaking anything the enemy throws. Two frontliners, both benefiting massively from any extra health and healing. Behind them, Byrna has the perfect environment. She has time to heal, time to trigger Roar of Nature, time to stack Living Heart repeatedly on whichever frontliner she fully heals. If she keeps topping off Julius or Electra, their maximum health keeps climbing during the battle. In drawn-out fights, this feels like you are trying to break a wall that is rebuilding itself while you hit it. Folio adds more damage and chaos to the fight, forcing enemies out of position and amplifying pressure. Polaris keeps the enemy locked under constant stuns and control, stopping them from properly focusing your frontliners. While the enemy is desperately trying to chunk down Julius and Electra, Byrna is quietly turning them into raid bosses. So yes, Guardians, Byrna can be fragile, she can be punished, she can be countered. But when she stands in the right team, with time to grow, she doesn't just support. She transforms your lineup. And now it's your turn. Test her. Try different pairings. Push her in Brawls, Campaign, Guild Clash. Watch how her spirit behaves under pressure and how Living Heart changes long battles. If this ultimate guide helped you understand Byrna better, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Olympus Alliance, and ring that bell so you never miss our next breakdown, guide, or meta talk. Drop your Byrna teams and experiences in the comments, I'll be there reading everything. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.